Hello, welcome back to another podcast of Westside.Technology Area 66 Declassified. I've got Dr. Matt Lee with us.
Good morning.
And we also have Dr. Greg Betts.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
And we hope to move along a little faster than we did last week. We bogged down a little bit on a couple things, so we want to go ahead and get started right away. Hit it, Dr. Betts.
Well, it's supposed to be playing.
All right, thank you.
Right. Yeah.
The reason we're playing that is we want to just take a brief minute to congratulate Dr. Lee on his being elected president-elect for the Nebraska Educational Technology Association, NITA. Talked about that briefly last week, so we just wanted to give Dr. Lee a dig and congratulate him at the same time. So congratulations, Matt.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
The organization will be in good hands in your leadership. So
I hope so. I'm excited about it. It'll be an interesting 3 years here with the president cycle.
Okay, guys, let's move along here. And just speaking of NITA, let's talk briefly about the application for attending NITA. We know that everybody doesn't get to go every year because a lot of people want to go, and there's cost to it with subs and everything. You want to talk about that process and what deadlines we have coming up?
Sure, yeah. So I think last time we talked a little bit about the application process. I sent out an email to all staff outlining the application that needs to go in, and I just wanted to remind people that the deadline to get those applications back to me is this Friday at 4 o'clock. And so in your building conference folders, you should have access to an interactive PDF that you can fill out to complete your application. Those can either be emailed back to me, or they could be printed off and sent through the Pony to myself at the Westside Career Center, or the CCC. And so just once again, the deadline for applications for people wanting to go to NITA is Friday at 4 p.m.
So, Greg, once those applications get in, then your department kind of handles the processing of those applications, and we go through a process determining who gets to attend and who does not. Is that correct?
Yeah, we like to try to get as many people there as possible. So we look at people who've gone last year or previous years, who's presenting, where what buildings need to be represented, where who's going to have the biggest impact. So we try to look at all angles and be as fair as possible with that.
Okay, moving on. At Westside, we try to provide both students and staff with really good quality tools as far as technology to do our various jobs, either as staff members or as students. And we also like, in addition to the devices, also provide a good selection of powerful software that people can use to do various tasks. So, and a lot of those we're able to put in self-service through our JSS JAMP system. Matt, you want to talk a little bit about some of the new pieces of software that will be coming in self-service over the next few days or so, or might actually already be there?
Yeah, some of them are already there, and some of them are going to be coming up over the next few days. But just to highlight two that I think people should get really excited about is we have the brand new version of Microsoft Office now available. And so if you've wanted to go and kind of get access to the latest features, maybe you use Windows machines at home, or you have people at, if you're taking university courses, the new version of Office improves the compatibility a little bit with some of the Windows systems, and it also adds a few extra features. It has a new look and feel. I think it makes a few things a little easier than the old version, and I think it runs a little bit quicker. And so that's going to be available in self-service that you can download on your laptop. The other one that we have coming out is the brand new version of the Adobe Creative Suite. So I think it was back in episode 1, I think, Paul, you kind of talked about what all the different applications were that were in the Adobe Suite. So Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, all of those, Dreamweaver to make websites with, Adobe Acrobat. The newest versions of those are going to be showing up in self-service so that teachers and staff can download those and have access to it. And just kind of a quick little plug on it, I think my favorite new app that they've updated is Adobe Acrobat. They've added a lot of really, really good kind of interactive things in the PDFs, and kind of my favorite feature is they've really improved the export part. So if you have a PDF, you can open it in Adobe Acrobat and then go and export it as a Word file, so you can actually make changes and edit. So if somebody sends you a file and you're like, okay, this was last year's, I need to go and change the date to this year on it, it makes it super easy and super simple to do. And so that's in self-service on your laptop. If it's not, if you don't see something there now, realize that we're going to be slowly rolling these out in self-service over the next week or so, and it should be there very soon.
Okay, and then some of those pieces of software that you may not be familiar with but have some interest in, particularly perhaps Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop or things like that, that may not be something that just automatically intuitive, that you can open it up and know how to use it and do something productive with it. Remember that every staff member and students can have access to lynda.com, and they have literally thousands of tutorials and videos and courses, many of which are those Adobe products or the new Microsoft Office that you can go into and get up to speed on the new capabilities.
Yeah, and I think the Office stuff especially, because there are some changes to the look and feel of Office, and lynda.com would be an excellent, excellent resource to go to. Now, I think the next item that we had up that we wanted to kind of talk about was just to kind of recap and go over some of our experiences and feedback as far as blended learning, and in particular the Staff Professional Learning Day that we had last week. Greg, do you want to talk maybe a little bit about some of your ideas about how blended learning is progressing in the district?
Sure. February, what was that, 15th, last Monday, we flipped the professional learning opportunity for all staff, well, K through 8, and that was the first time we have done that as a district, so we were taking a chance. And Paul, I don't know if you can put up that graphic.
Okay.
So after, well, what we did was we flipped the professional learning opportunity.
It is being screen shared.
Oh, great. With an opportunity to meet Monday morning, and the feedback was really good for what we got from our survey of, we asked staff, should we continue to pursue a flipped classroom opportunities for staff, and 92% said yes.
I think that's incredible. I mean, how often do you get 92%, on anything? I think this is really, really good.
It's very encouraging. And if you were to look at the 16 no's, only 6 people left comments on the no's, and if you were to go through I won't read all of the comments from the no's, and what they were basically saying was it was kind of some user error because it was new for Blackboard for some of the elementary teachers, and continuing our approach of giving choice. So in the future, if we were going to do a flipped classroom experience, we would want to give some choice of some different sessions for people to take. But the comments were overwhelming. Thank you for valuing my time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to take the class when it worked for me. I enjoyed not having to fight traffic at the high school. And I appreciated time to collaborate with my peers afterwards in my building. So I think we have a good model to continue to refine and evolve, and very encouraging results from our K-8 staff.
So would it be safe to say then that we're going to be exploring some different blended learning opportunities for the professional learning piece in the future?
Oh, absolutely. We've done a couple pilots with our Lighthouse Educator Academy staff this year. Years 1, 2, and 3 each did a flipped module, and they've also given some feedback too. So I feel moving forward we have a lot of good feedback, and we can definitely explore some better and more efficient ways to deliver professional learning that meets the needs of all of our staff.
All right, thanks guys. I want to take a minute. This is, I guess, Dr. Lindgren's security corner. I don't know if we'll have to start calling it coming up with some clever name for this part of the podcast, but there's just so many threats out there on the internet now as far as our security of our devices and our personal information that just want to take just a moment to talk about when we're out on the internet surfing, looking for some particular information, or perhaps we're looking for a new piece of software. There are times where we will run across a web page that will do a pop-up that will warn you and say that you need to update a particular piece of software. Commonly, those are perhaps your Adobe Flash or your Adobe Acrobat or Java or something like that. Sometimes they'll even start beeping at you a warning, and a lot of those are kind of scareware or scare tactics. That what they'll do is they'll try to prompt you and make you think that you need some type of an updated software to display a video or something like that. And I guess the principle that I would like to always remind you folks of is that never go and download software from those places when a web page is popping you up and warning you and telling you to go someplace and download it. For Adobe related software, always just go to adobe.com and go to their downloads. For Java, just go to I believe it's just java.com, or Oracle actually owns Java, so oracle.com would also have a downloads to download the latest and greatest version of Java. But anytime someone is prompting you and saying you need to go update this from a web page, would really discourage you from going immediately to where they're directing you, because sometimes those people have less than your best interests in mind and will try to get you to download some type of a damaged or something that's had some kind of a security exploit taking place. So always download your Java and your Adobe updates from the actual companies themselves. So
always good advice.
Okay, Matt, you want to talk a little bit about NeSA testing? We've got kind of our first bulk of NeSA testing done, and then we're kind of in a lull for a little while, I think, for the most part, and then we'll ramp up again for another big peak a little bit later. But talk about what's going on with Check for Learning and NeSA in general.
Sure, yeah. Just to give everybody an update, the Check for Learning and the NeSA system is really a two-part system. There's the technology side of it, of actually getting the application on the iPads, making the connection to DRC, making sure the iPad is secure. And then there's the side that is the account side, the kids, their logins, their passwords, the data that's available, to them. So those are kind of two separate sides, and I know for teachers sometimes it gets confusing about who to talk to and who supports each side of that testing equation. So I thought it might just be good to give a quick little overview of that process. So to start with the technology side, if you ever have problems with things like the DRC Inside App isn't on a student iPad, or the app, when you open it up, it says you need to enable guided access, or anything as far as the app itself with getting it on the iPad and getting it open, that's something that technology staff can help you with. And so you can just file a help ticket like you would to Lachlan Help or to Emerson Help, and we'll be able to get that going and get it fixed for you. Fortunately, 99% of any issues dealing with the technology side of it can be fixed doing one quick little simple step. And it sounds really silly, but if you're having problems with a guided access message or the app won't load correctly or anything like that, if you just delete the app, restart the iPad, and then go into the self-service app on the student's iPad and re-download DRC Insight, 99% of the time that works, and that'll fix any technology problems that student might be having. The other side of the equation is the actual exams themselves and the user accounts. And unfortunately, that's a different system that actually goes through DRC in the state of Nebraska. And so the contact for that, if you have problems with not having student logins or trying to get access to the data from them, or if a test has already been started and the student had to quit out and so it says that test isn't available, any of those kind of issues should be directed at Sandhya over at ABC. And Paul, is the email, is it THAMMA, thama.sandhya?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, yeah, so just email Sandia, and she's really good, really quick at getting on top of those account issues. So if you just send her an email with anything regarding logins or tests or accounts, she will get you squared away and help you out with that. So if it's an app issue or getting access or an error message from the app itself, that would go through the technology help system. If it's anything dealing with user accounts or tests not showing up or questions not displaying correctly, that would go through Sandia. And so we're working together closely to make sure that, if anything, does happen that affects the other, we're working together to make sure those things get fixed. But just realize that kind of there's two separate wheels or two separate plates that we're juggling at the same time to make sure testing goes as smoothly as possible for you. I would also add in, I have gotten a few questions about who has access to DRC Insight and who has access to the test. We did make the decision as the technology team to only put DRC Insight on student iPads as opposed to teacher iPads. The reason we did that is because there's some restrictions that the DRC app requires that we didn't think teachers would want to have to deal with, namely getting rid of spell check, getting rid of predictive keyboard, and some other things that we had to lock down on the student iPads. So right now, staff do not have access to the DRC app on their iPads. However, the app is completely agnostic about who's logged into it. And so if you did need to do any kind of demonstrations or modeling for students, any student iPad will allow any student access into the DRC testing. Everything is done based on that user account that they sign in with, and it'll actually pull anything specific to that user based on that. So you could use any device as long as it's a student device to access DRC Insight. Paul, do you have anything to add with?
Yeah, just to make sure, you talk about your kind of three-step process that solves most of our technology-related problems. First of all, deleting the app, and just to review that on an iPad, touching and holding down on an app on the iPad screen will cause your apps to start jiggling and having X appear, and then you hit the X on that DRC Inside app, and it will disappear, and that's what deletes it. And then you want to do a restart, and then to re-download.
Just to clarify on the restart, it works best if it's kind of the hard restart, where if you take your iPad like this, and if you actually hold down the power button up on top and the home button at the same time until the screen turns black, and then you'll see the Apple logo pop up, that'll get you the fullest or the hardest restart on it.
And then the last thing is when you download the DRC Inside app, do not go to the Apple App Store and download it, because you will not get the data, the profile that you need for the student to be able to be successful and get into the test. You do need to go into the self-service app and download the app there. So that's a couple of gotchas that have bit people in the last couple of weeks. So.
Yeah, and I would add, if for some reason you don't see the self-service app on student iPads, it's probably indicative of a bigger issue of their iPad not getting managed properly. And it's an easy fix. All you need to do is email, Lachlan Help or Emerson Help, and they'll be really quick. They'll be out to stop by and take a look at things and make sure that that self-service app shows up.
Okay, thanks, Matt. That's some really good information. What do we have for upcoming training as we wrap up this podcast episode?
Yeah, so upcoming technology trainings, we got a few coming up here in the next couple weeks. I would highlight on March 1st, we have some web tips and tricks. And then on March 15th, we have Google Sites. And I would highly recommend the Google Sites training. As we know, we're asking teachers to build web pages either using Apple's wikis that we have hosted or Google Sites. And if you want some help, have some questions, or just don't know where to begin, that training is on March 15th, and Bridget will walk you through from the very beginning, if you need it, on how to use Google Sites to create a classroom web page.
Matt, where do they get more information about these sessions and how to register, etc.?
Yeah, great. To find more information, if you just go to area66.westside66.org, That takes you to our technology training page, and up on the top there's a link that says upcoming tech trainings, and you'll see a list as well as descriptions for all of the different offerings that we'll have through the end of the semester. If any of them kind of strike your fancy and you want to register for them, all you need to do is send Nancy Yount an email, and she will get you on the list.
Matt, yeah, you guys have done a great job with those trainings and giving lots of choice and variety to meet the needs of all of our teachers. So great job with that.
Thank you, Greg.
All right. Well, I think we're just about done here. Thanks again, Dr. Betts, for joining us. Do you have any last words from the professional learning?
Only that February is almost over, and March and April are going to fly with getting ready for NeSA testing and actually testing. So the spring's going to go fast.
Yes. Well, thank you all for joining us, and hope you enjoyed our session. We'll try to move along a little bit faster than we did last week. And good talking to you guys again, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks.
You too. Have a great week.
Yep, have a great one.
Bye.